you are announced as the newest head coach of the Toronto Tempo, the first ever head coach of the Toronto Tempo. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes. No, so exciting. So exciting. Yeah. I'm pumped.
Are you obviously so excited, a little bit I'm glad this is now over and now I can just move on to my next chapter?
Well, yeah, you know that. Yeah. No, it was, like I said, it was overwhelming. Once I was let go by New York, I had some interest from other teams, and going through that process was fun. A little overwhelming, a little stressful, just making that decisions because, they're all great situations. But in the end, I just felt, my heart was leading me to Toronto and to build something from scratch, in a whole new city and in a whole new country. So it's not just Toronto's team, it's Canada's team.
When Sandy Brondello won the WNBA championship with the New York Liberty in October 2024, she was on top of the basketball world. First ever championship for one of the league's original franchises, coaching in the biggest media market in America, leading superstars like Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu. 11 months later, the Liberty fired her. After a first-round playoff exit plagued by injuries, New York decided not to renew her contract. Just like that, one of the league's most accomplished coaches was back on the market, and immediately 3 different teams came calling, 3 different opportunities, 3 completely different paths forward. Most coaches in her position would chase security, the established roster, the proven system, the guaranteed playoff contention. Sandy Brondello chose chaos instead. She just became the first head coach in Toronto Tempo history, taking on an expansion franchise that has no players, no playbook, and won't even step onto a court until 2026. Walking away from everything proven to build something that doesn't exist yet. But here's what makes this fascinating. She might have just made the smartest career move in WNBA coaching history. Because right now, at this exact moment, the entire league is about to explode with change, and Sandy positioned herself at ground zero. This is the story of why starting from nothing could be the ultimate advantage, and why one coach's leap into uncertainty might reshape basketball in an entire country.
This is you don't know what this is going to be. And we know all the reasons as to why that will be, which let me just name the elephant in the room very quickly. There's, almost every vet in the league is a free agent. You guys aren't going to know. There's no CBA. So you guys aren't going to know what pick you have in the draft.
Yeah.
You don't know how the expansion draft's going to work itself. So I know it can be difficult to give answers for this next section, but just if you zoom out, right, and you look at this challenge that's ahead of you, which I think is what drew you there, it sounds like what excited you about creating, building?
Yeah, look, I think you mentioned it with the CBA going on, there's a lot of free agents. So I think if you're going to build a team, probably now's the right time.
Yeah.
In her first interview as Toronto's head coach, Sandy said something that should make every WNBA fan pay attention, talking about the unprecedented free agency period ahead. She dropped this line: "If you're going to build a team, probably now's the right time." Think about what that means. The WNBA's collective bargaining agreement negotiations have created a situation where nearly 80% of the league's players are hitting free agency simultaneously. Not the usual handful of role players switching teams, stars, superstars, and foundational pieces all available at once. Toronto isn't inheriting someone else's broken system. They're not trying to retool around aging contracts or figuring out how to transition from one era to another. They get to walk into the biggest free agency period in league history with a completely clean slate and ask, who do we want to be? But Sandy's thinking goes deeper than just timing. When choosing between 3 coaching opportunities, she wasn't making a pros and cons list. She was asking herself something different. She explained it like this: "What I was learning from the past is, where do you feel like I'll have the most support to build something special?" Support. Not talent, not immediate contention. Support. She's talking about organizational alignment, about partnership with her general manager, Monica Rogers, a former WNBA player herself, about ownership that understands sustainable success takes time. And here's where Sandy's experience becomes crucial. She won championships with Phoenix in 2014 and New York in 2024. She knows exactly what those organizations look like. She knows the infrastructure required. She knows what breaks down when competing at the highest level. So when she says she felt the most support in Toronto, She's not being diplomatic. She's making a calculated assessment based on 2 championship runs about where she can create something lasting. But there's another dimension to this decision that makes it even more compelling. Sandy Brondello is Australian. She coaches the Australian national team in addition to her WNBA role, currently in her 3rd cycle with the Opals. And when she talks about Toronto, she keeps circling back to something specific. Our game is global and I am international, so I felt a comfort level. She's not just constructing Toronto's team, she's establishing Canada's team. Consider what that means practically. When the Toronto Raptors won the NBA championship in 2019, the entire country rallied behind them. It wasn't a city celebration, it was a national moment. Sandy referenced this directly, talking about how Torontonians love their sports and how they get behind their teams in ways that create something bigger than basketball. She said, "It's not just Toronto's team, it's Canada's team." That's not marketing speak. That's understanding she's not competing for attention in a crowded American sports market. She's becoming the face of women's basketball in an entire country that's hungry for it. Now, let's talk about what that actually looks like in practice. When asked about her team building philosophy, Sandy got specific. She's thinking about constructing around 2 or 3 elite core players, then surrounding them with complementary pieces. She's considering international talent. She's definitely trying to bring in some Canadian players to create that hometown connection. But here's what she emphasized most. In the end, it's just getting the right pieces together, and it doesn't matter where they're from. She's not chasing names for the sake of names. She's thinking about fit, about culture, about people who want to create something rather than join something already established. And this is where the Golden State Valkyries comparison becomes instructive. The Valkyries just made the playoffs in their first year of existence. They did it by being strategic about the expansion draft, selecting players who fit Natalie Nikasi's system, and creating an identity from day one. Their arena, affectionately called Valhalla, became one of the most electric environments in the league. Sandy acknowledged their success multiple times, but also made a crucial distinction. We have to create our own identity. It's a different year. She's absolutely right. The Valkyries succeeded through a strong expansion draft, getting to select from a larger pool of unprotected players. Toronto's expansion draft will have fewer players available because the league is protecting rosters better this time. But the free agency pool will be exponentially larger. That's a fundamentally different team building challenge. The Valkyries could draft a competitive core. Toronto needs to recruit one, which brings us to Sandy's actual pitch to potential free agents. She's betting that players are looking for more than just the biggest contract or the most established situation. She's betting that some stars out there want to be part of creating something historic. She said it directly. The money is going to be big, bigger and better, and Toronto is a really great city, especially in summer, great organization, and to do something new, so hopefully that can inspire some of the players out there. But then she added something that reveals her real confidence. I've been around the league for quite some time. Players know me and know what I'm about, and hopefully I can entice a few of those players to join us in Toronto. She's not selling Toronto as much as she's selling herself. Her track record, her system, her ability to develop players and win championships. That's ultimately what makes this calculated rather than reckless. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this deep dive into the strategic side of the WNBA, make sure you're subscribed. We're breaking down all the major moves, controversies, and storylines as this league continues to explode in popularity. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next.
Look, I just still feel I have so much passion for this game. You know, I love being a head coach and trying to get the best out of teams, you know, building the cohesiveness and the connections and the relationships and the system, you know, and then but being in a collaboration. I feel like I still have so much to give, and that's what it's about. And now the challenge is you're trying to win that. another championship with another franchise. I think that's, obviously that's ultimately the motivation, and I know that will be hard, but that's always, you got to have that, that's the goal out there, but it's just making sure you build it in the right way. And, as long as I still have passion, I want to keep doing what I'm doing.
So what drives someone to take this kind of risk after already winning 2 championships? Her answer reveals everything about why this move makes sense. Sandy Brondello said, "I just still feel I have so much passion for this game. I love being a head coach and trying to get the best out of teams, building the cohesiveness and the connections and the relationships in the system. Yeah, I feel like I still have so much to give. This isn't about legacy hunting or checking boxes. This is about someone who genuinely loves the process, who gets energized by the challenge of molding a team, creating an identity, and establishing a culture from the ground floor." She even frames the championship goal in those terms. The challenge is trying to win another championship with another franchise. I know that will be hard, but that's always the goal. It's just making sure you build it in the right way. Build it in the right way, not the fast way, not the flashy way. The right way for long-term success. And that philosophy extends beyond just roster construction. Sandy talked about investing in the community, getting out there and selling the game, making players into household names. She's thinking about what it means to grow women's basketball in Canada, not just win games in Toronto. She referenced how Canada has great young talent coming up, how the country genuinely loves sports and rallies behind their teams, how this is an opportunity to elevate the entire sport in a new market. That's thinking like a builder, not just a coach. The interviewer even joked about whether Sandy was trying to break Brian Agler's record of winning championships with 3 different franchises. Sandy laughed it off, but then said, "It's the competitive thing in me. Of course we want to win. I'll chase that." But that feels almost secondary to the bigger mission. Yes, she wants to win. Yes, she's competitive. But the real motivation seems to be about creating something that lasts beyond her tenure, about establishing a foundation that can support Canadian women's basketball for decades. And that's where the risk transforms into vision. Sandy Brondello isn't gambling on Toronto. She's investing in something bigger than a single franchise. She's positioning herself as like the architect of Canada's basketball identity at the professional level. She's taking everything she learned from winning championships in Phoenix and New York and applying it to a situation where she has complete creative control from the very beginning. No inherited systems to dismantle, no established culture to navigate around, no compromises with previous regimes' decisions, just a clean slate, a supportive front office, and the biggest free agency period in WNBA history. When you frame it that way, it stops looking like a gamble and starts looking like the opportunity of a lifetime. Sandy Brondello's decision to become the first head coach of the Toronto Tempo is already being called historic, and she's establishing Canada's first WNBA franchise from absolute zero, set to begin play in 2026. But the real story isn't about making history, it's about making the smartest possible move at the exact right moment. She's walking into unprecedented free agency with no baggage. She's partnering with a front office that shares her vision. She's coaching in a country that will rally behind this team in ways that American markets simply can't replicate. And she's doing it all with the credibility of someone who's already won championships and knows exactly what it takes. The question isn't whether Sandy Brondello can create something in Toronto. The question is whether the rest of the WNBA is ready for what happens when one of the league's best coaches gets complete creative control at the perfect moment in league history. We're about to find out. And honestly, I think the WNBA has no idea what's coming. What do you think? Is Sandy making the smartest move in coaching, or is she taking too big a risk? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see more breakdowns of the strategic side of the WNBA as this expansion era unfolds, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This is just the beginning of a wild ride. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.